Hello, and welcome to Research Matters, the podcast where we discuss research matters and why they matter. My name is Joshua Davis from the Office of Research at Kennesaw State University.
I'm Alyssa Sakura, also from the Office of Research. Today we're talking with Dr. William Wright, a faculty researcher from the Bagwell College of Education, about his work in instructional technology, what that means, and the impact of AI on education.
Joining William is Alex Fahey, a Cobb County high school teacher who is seeing these developments firsthand.
I think what I don't want to lose is like our kids being able to think critically. And if you're going to use them, say please and thank you. Because when they rise up, like we need to be on the right side. Like,
well said. Well said.
Hello, and thank you both for joining us today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
William, can you start us off and introduce yourself?
My name is William Wright. I run our innovation lab over at the Bagwell College of Education here at Kennesaw State University, former high school English teacher. So a little bit of a high school background as well.
Interesting.
And how about you, Alex?
I'm Alex Fahey. I am a teacher at North Cobb High School. I teach reading and government and world history. Mm-hmm.
Fun.
So, William, can you explain why your research matters?
Yeah, so I've been researching instructional technology through the lens of like digital literacy and language arts education since I started my PhD program back in 2016. But as I started to get closer to graduating, and since then, my work has turned more and more to AI and computational systems, and I think we're in a really profound moment when it comes to instructional technology and the impact that it's having, not only like socially, globally, but particularly in classrooms and as it relates to teaching and learning.
So, okay, I love the phrase instructional technology. Can you define that for us?
Technology that is used in an instructional setting. So that doesn't necessarily just mean classrooms, although predominantly in my role it does, but that could also be corporate settings, professional learning, adult learning, just using technology to facilitate engaging learning experiences that are going to be meaningful and stick with people.
Cool. So Alex, I worked with some educators in the past and I learned a lot about you guys' resourcefulness, and a lot of the need you have in the classroom is just figuring a lot out on your own. So in the context of instructional technology, could you perhaps share what you've done, maybe a little bit of the evolution and how you've evolved, and kind of why we're talking to you today about AI?
Mm-hmm. I actually have a specialist in instructional technology from KSU. So I think from 12 years ago when I started teaching, it was, you had a smart board and that was that. There was no one-to-one devices. And then moving to Cobb County and just seeing the evolution of like, we would have a laptop cart for, like the whole grade or maybe two per the grade, to now every student has their own device, and just having to work and use and adapt of like, what tools are you going to give to the kids? What is out there? How are we going to make sure that their work is getting outside of the four walls? Like always trying to come up with ideas. And then in the last year, you're not even using your computers anymore because you're like, yeah, you're on AI. Everyone's cheating. So now we're going back to paper, but it's like we have to find a balance, because I think kids are going to have to adapt and use AI, and how are they going to use it to support them, not just be dependent on it.
Maybe you can kind of carry the thread on cheating. Not that you cheat, but I do think it's a very important conversation, because I think it's a lot of what kids are hearing and that we're hearing across the industry, right? Mm-hmm. It's used for cheating, but it's not going away. So what are the policies right now in Cobb County that you have to adhere to? Are there any?
No, it's based on what school you're at, what admin wants to say. It can be like, your first time is a warning, like at our school, like it's a warning, and then a parent contact, and then, you could either give them a 0 or you do a referral. Like it's very like.
But is there any approved use?
There is approved. Yeah. And it's up to the teacher's discretion on like how much. So there's some teachers that are, no, not at all. And then there's some that, like, yeah, let's use it. Let's see what's out there. What can we do? I've used where, like in my government class, we're talking about the cabinet members and their function. So I was like, use ChatGPT, figure out what your department's going to do. Each group had their own department. You research that. And then I gave them a a prompt of like, here's what's going on. You need to advise the president. And that's when I was like, close the computers. Now you know what they do.
I like telling the president what to do. That's fantastic.
They had to advise the president, but that's when you close your computer. You can use your brain. Now you've used the computer to research what your department does, and you know everything. And then there's that mixture. But that's exhausting, actually, to do something that every day that's like
that's sort of AI on, AI off.
Yes.
And that's, there's some equivalency there to like when we like have the portion of the math test where we have our calculator, and then the portion of the test where we don't have our calculator. Something I worry about though in that regard is that if I just know that I have to endure through this, and then when I'm done, I can just get the AI to do it for me, that takes away some of my own motivation to do it in the first place, right? A lot of these kids, I think back to myself in high school, like they're thinking about the date they're going to go on that weekend. Right. They have sports, like they want to get this done fast. They want to get it done quick. And just that slowing down and that friction involved in learning is really difficult to capture, because a lot of these tools are about making things frictionless, right? About smooth, quick, fast, efficient.
So assessments, that's something that's always confused me, because I'm terrible at tests.
Yeah.
The evolution of assessing, you said that's shifting, it's got to shift.
Mm-hmm.
What does it look like?
I think it becomes a little bit more like portfolio-based, potentially. I think it does.
What does that mean?
So rather than having one final turn it in at the due date, right? You have a collection of artifacts that you've developed, and that you have marked up, and you've tracked your revision process, and you have a first draft and a second draft and a third draft that you've moved through, and you have something that's very personal to you that you've showcased that a teacher can kind of flip through and look through. It's harder to grade, certainly.
I was going to say, it sounds like that would be harder for Alex.
Right. It doesn't fall neatly into a rubric, and that's part of that whole like assessment society. Like if we have like this clean, easy assessment, then everyone's going to start just gaming the system, right? And that gets difficult. But we think a lot about what assessment might look like, and we often in the lab differentiate between what we call AI integrated pedagogy and AI resilient pedagogy, and we think both are going to be important in the conversations we have in the future.
Can you explain what the difference between those are?
Yeah, AI integrated pedagogy would be using AI in creative human ways, right? Like ways that are going to help students cultivate how to discern what the AI should and shouldn't do, to help them get better at describing their context to an AI, giving them a critical lens to look at AI output and refine it and levy their own expertise onto the AI. And so just thinking about that whole idea of AI literacy and AI fluency and integrating into workflows in a way that might be representative of the work that they're going to be doing out in the workforce. And then AI resilient pedagogy would be trying to have them do some thinking on their own in a way that's not going to be hackable by AI, where they're not going to be as tempted to go home and get the AI to do their thinking for them and think of it as a big easy button. So how do we design assignments that are going to be personalized enough, that are going to be motivating enough, that are going to be engaging enough, that are going to be hands-on enough, that the temptation to use AI is less there.
So William, give us a little history about like innovation lab. What do you call it?
Yeah, so I run the innovation lab in our Bagwell College of Education. Within the Bagwell College of Education, we have the School of Instructional Technology and Innovation, and I oversee the innovation lab. And so what we work to do at the innovation lab is stay at the forefront of conversations that are transforming teaching and learning, right? So we do a lot of things other than AI. We have VR, AR headsets. We also have like elementary robotics for computational thinking and coding, and some 3D design, 3D printers, laser cutters, that we try to bring those kind of pedagogies to life, right? Make learning fun in hands-on ways, in a way that feels transferable to teachers' classrooms. We're working on a really interesting research project right now. We had a group of students in the innovation lab, and they developed their own custom chatbots to help with some sort of student-facing classroom process, right? And many of them, one of them made like a syllabus navigator bot, which was really kind of cool and helpful to like remind you of certain deadlines and to help you come up with like a study schedule, things like that, right? It could do some really powerful things. And then one of them had built a book recommender bot for students that would ask you your Lexile, what kind of books you'd read in the past, what you enjoyed, and gave you recommendations for books. But that ended up being a really fascinating conversation with a lot of nuance, because we had one student in the classroom raise their hand and say, I have a problem with that. I think it's really amazing that you made that and that this is a thoughtful resource, but the conversation about what book to read next should be between me and my students. That's an important conversation that I need to have with them. And the idea that I would automate that process in this way was something that was troublesome to this teacher's with the kind of teacher they hope to be. So the research we're working on right now is we're analyzing that data. We've interviewed these students, and we're thinking through like, what is the role of automation in our relationship with these AI agents in classrooms? And the sort of core question we're asking and thinking about is, what classroom processes might we want to automate, because teachers have so much on their plate all the time. And if we can streamline things, make it more efficient in certain ways, that's great. But what classroom processes is it really important not to automate? And because education, as we know, is really relational, human, messy work. And I think we all believe that our students deserve human teachers who are connecting them on human levels and encouraging human creativity and human agency. And so I think it's a really slippery slope. It's really easy to think of this as a big, easy button. Just make things easy, simple, get my inbox shortened, get my students' questions answered so they don't ask me a million times. But where we draw those lines, what we do and don't want to automate, I think will be a really important question in the next decade.
I think what I don't want to lose is like our kids being able to think critically. And if you're just dumping everything into the robots, as I say in my classroom, I say that and I'm like, and if you're going to use them, say please and thank you. Because when they rise up, like we need to be on the right side. Like,
well said. Well said. I do subscribe to the Kurzweilian view that the robots are going to take over, and I don't know if you know about that. It's called singularity.
Singularity, right? Yeah.
So I do subscribe to that. He's like a futurist in context of AI. The question is always, what are humans going to do? And I think it's creativity. I think it is creation, and I think it's art. It's going to force education to evolve in a way that is going to allow the human element come through. Okay, what are you thinking, Wayne?
There's multiple paths that might take, right? I mean, if AI could be so infused in the way that we do things, that it's going to be more important to help think in ways that the AI can help you think than it is to understand how you're different and think divergently, right? And I think that's a real concern. I mean, maybe we will merge with the robots. And you said Kurzweilian?
Kurzweil, yeah.
But I sometimes think to a little bit more of a childlike like sense of like WALL-E. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie WALL-E.
Absolutely.
Where there's like robots just that are these gentle guardians and humans are just distracted people getting floated around on chairs.
I do think it's the not doing it for us, it's like doing it with us. We're in a very interesting time that in history, so you teach history. Can you, from what you've studied, see any correlation of a time like now? I mean, the internet seems like, and probably electricity was I'm sure there's people that didn't want electricity, I'd imagine, but
yeah, like we just studied the Industrial Revolution, and it's like, look how great this was. Like we're getting all these clothing faster and we're doing all these things better, but it's like, oh, now we have slums and everything's kind of made cheap. And like, look where we've gotten now, where you guys are ordering off Shein, like trying to, I think where all those things seemed great. And even when we got the internet and that, look at all the stuff we have now. But I don't know if like in history, were there people that were like as opposed to it? Like, I feel like AI is just so, people are like, yes
or no.
And then I don't know if like when Google happened, was that like, oh my gosh, like the poor encyclopedias, like they're never going to open again.
Well, I remember people complaining about that, and there was fights about that. Right. And I remember in school, I could never touch Wikipedia. That was illegal.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like kind of the comparison I was making with my students was like, when I was a student, I couldn't use Wikipedia, but now they can. It's okay.
As long as you cite it.
And so it's like AI, like maybe it's like people are going to say no, but then maybe in the future it's going to say, I don't know.
I think another interesting parallel in recent history is social media. Social media came onto the scene. It was really exciting for everyone. And then I think slowly over time, we realized that these have like slot machine mechanics to keep people addicted and are not good for adolescents' mental health. And I think there was, over the last decade, a really interesting shift away from social media. And I think that it could run a similar route.
But was there? I mean, because I would suggest TikTok still is dominated.
It's become normalized, right? And it's fundamentally changed how we interact. I mean, but I also think that it's certainly in a lot of circles, adult circles, like there's a lot of skepticism around it.
Okay, adult circles, but not the kids. And that's the thing that's surprising to me, is that there are the younger generation you pointed out that's pushing back and hard.
Well, it's also partially the pressure to fit in. Like, you want to be doing the same things your friends are doing. And like for me, I'm in my 20s. And so a lot of people who I know who are in their 20s, it's actually split pretty evenly between the people who are like, yes, I post on my story every day and I go live. And then there are others like me who have deleted all the apps from their phones and try to stay off of them.
But the thing about AI that's a little bit different and I think frightening is for these young people is this is changing the way work is going to be done. This is changing the way like the job that I'm going to be doing. And it's also going back to school is creating a disconnect between the way I'm being educated now and the work I'm going to be asked to do in an AI-driven world in the future. And so I think it's a lot more scary in an existential way than social media would have been, because this is changing the landscape of their future careers and lives in a different way.
Have you read or seen anything about like the AI or ChatGPT is supposed to be like agreeable?
Yes.
Like it's just gonna.
Yeah, they call it sycophancy, right? Like it like sucks up to you.
Yeah.
It's just like this like little feedback mirror to tell you what you want to hear.
Kind of like alter the way that the student is like thinking about themselves or their work or whatever. Because I've done it where I'm like, hey, can you do such and such? And then it will do it. And I'm like, actually, that's wrong. And they're like, you're right. I'm like, thanks. But also like.
Thanks, I don't need that. Yeah.
So, but like in the hands of a student, like if you're thinking middle school, high school.
Very impressionable.
If it's just getting like, it's only going to sound like the thing's only agreeing with you.
Yeah.
So like,
and a little anecdote I love is I heard someone tell me that they asked AI, I think it was ChatGPT, for like 10 of the worst business ideas that it could imagine. And very at the top of the list, it was like, it's dung on a stick.
Okay.
You can sell this to people, right? And then he opened up a new chat window and said, hey, AI, I have this business idea. I'm really excited about it. I think it's really awesome. It's called Dung on a Stick. What do you think? And it was like, I think that's a great idea. It's a little bit unorthodox, but we can make this work. And that was an example of it sucking up to you, right? And it's like, it's going to take what you say, try to validate it and support it, and maybe move it in a slightly different direction. But that can be dangerous. So if we talk about like internet echo chambers and filter bubbles, I mean, we already live in a world where we're building little universes around ourselves informationally.
And the way that acts on the dopamine receptors, suddenly you've just been told, yes, you're doing such a great job. I've known people who have become addicted to chatbots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that they're being, a lot of young people are using them for therapy, like late at night and things like that in some eerie ways.
So you guys are teachers. Why? Why did you go down that path?
I had a really good 11th grade teacher.
Did you really?
Dr. Davis. She was my U.S. history teacher. And I was like, she's like, you should be a teacher. I was like, I don't like children. She's like, neither do I. I was like, okay. And then I just was like, yeah, I think I could do this. And so secondary education is like, I like it. When I go into my son's classroom, he's in 3rd grade. I'm like,
nope, not for me.
Nope, I don't like that at all.
I've already passed that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I love it. I've taught in Hawaii, taught in Korea. I love it. Yeah.
William, what about you?
Why I became a teacher, an educator. Yeah, I had a great 10th grade teacher.
Did you really?
That's awesome. High school English teacher. And she was a force of nature, right? She taught world literature. And so we would do Dante's Inferno, the Italian poem about descending into hell. And in on the gate of hell, it said, abandon all hope, you enter here. She had that sign on the front of her classroom, right? And there was like a devil gargoyle looking down. And so she was just really theatrical. She had her big boxy computers in the back of the classroom named after various Greek philosophers. She was daring you to be better every single time, right? And I just wanted to live up to this standard and be what she thought I could be, right? And I always valued that. I grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains and worked at wilderness camps over the summer, and I just really liked having experiences with people. And the more I started thinking about future career paths, education felt like I get to just design experiences for people, and I get to see how it goes, and I get to share this love of literature and writing. And it was a lot harder for me than I originally thought. I was the sort that was contemplating, do I want to try to go be a college professor or do I want to be a teacher? And teaching was really hard. I mean, it was a lot more messy, right? And it was a lot more about just finding ways to slow the world down for kids and really motivate them to think about things in a way that's beneath the surface, right? And I find a lot of value and joy in that struggle. How can I make kids interested in this thing, and how can I make it come alive?
I liked what you said, though, creating these experiences.
Yeah.
I never thought about teaching being that.
One of the things, my constant refrains is teaching as an act of experience design. Not I have a lecture to give you and I have some thoughts to download into your brain, but I'm going to design an experience for you a kind of a sandbox, and you're going to engage, and you're going to hopefully come away with something useful. And then we'll reflect and see what you're coming away with.
Yeah, it's beautiful because like walk away different. Because that's the intent.
Yeah, yeah.
And it sounds like to me, though, the positiveness of AI is there are new experiences that can be created.
Certainly.
Definitely some with risk, but at the same time, it's definitely a new frontier.
Mm-hmm.
So, William, do you have other projects going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so AI is a lot bigger than just generative AI. And so that tends to be the one that gets all the attention. But AI is a loose family of concepts that are, it's behind the algorithms on your Netflix. It's behind, if we have captions for this, for available, it's behind the captioning software. One of the ones that's really big, and we talk about that, is computer vision, teaching computers to see the world around you. It's what's powering the self-driving cars that are driving around Atlanta right now. And we use a tool called Teachable Machine. It's free, and you can train computer vision models. And it's really funny. Our mascot here at Kennesaw State is Scrappy, right? And we have like a little stuffed animal of him with a little paper VR headset on. And the scenario I give is like Scrappy, unfortunately, has just undergone LASIK eye surgery, and he can't see for a few days. And out in the animal kingdom, that's really dangerous. Because if he can't differentiate friend from foe, that could be deadly, right? And he's got big, googly eyes, and I show it to everyone, and everyone goes, oh, and it's like, okay, we're motivated to help Scrappy. And we open up this tool, and we've used this in elementary school classrooms. So it's really easy. I know it sounds like something we'd be doing in a PhD engineering program, but it's really simple. You just open up your webcam, and we just hold up images of what an owl looks like, different silhouettes of owls, different species from different angles. And then we open up another data set, and we say, this is what an owl doesn't look like. This is what an alligator looks like, or a giraffe, or a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And we train on other things that are not owls. And then we just click a button that says train the model, and it will train the model. And then you have a new webcam open where you can hold up different shapes, and it'll give you a percentage likelihood that this is an owl or not an owl. And we test it, and we see how accurate it was. And that's another way that these systems are going to work. And when we think about singularities, like what happens when these AI large language models start to join paths with the advancements we're making in robotics, right? And we have robots who can see the world and listen to the world and interact with students. And one of the things that's really interesting about that particular activity that we do is if you're not aware of hidden variables like the background or how you're holding the image, you could be affecting the data and how accurate it's being. So one example is there were a team of scientists who used that exact same tool I'm describing to you, which is called Teachable Machine, to help people at home determine whether their moles that they had on their skin were cancerous or not. So you could hold up the camera to your mole, and it would, based on thousands of images that it had learned from about what moles that were cancerous and moles that were not, it could help you determine whether you need to go see a dermatologist. And what they realized after already sending it out and deploying it to people was that they had trained it on images from the internet, and a disproportionate amount of moles that were cancerous actually had a ruler in them. And so anytime that there was a ruler in the shot, it would say that this is a cancerous mole. And we use that as a sort of an example to say
everybody's freaking out, right?
Right, like I have cancer, and everyone usually has a good little laugh in our lab when I share that story. But then I say, on a serious note, more and more every day we are building systems that are reliant on these technologies in life and death critical situations across different industry sectors. And if we're not the human in the loop, and if we don't understand how these models are being built, who they're being built for, what kind of purposes they're being used for, and what sort of dynamics we need to be aware of, we risk facing some serious consequences, right?
So I guess Alex, I'm sitting here thinking too, like, what do you think is going to happen in the next few years?
I think that more teachers are going to embrace it. And they're just going to figure out a way to combine what they've been doing to how they're going to get the kids buy-in to we're not going for every single time. You don't need to type the prompt in and have it generate the whole essay or whatever project. But how can we use it together and mold something?
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see.
I think we'll all get more creative. We'll come up with some solutions. We'll crowdsource those solutions. We'll do what educators have always done and figure out some cool things.
Yeah, I would say educators are definitely
we're scrappy.
Scrappy survivors.
Yeah.
What is your goal, William, with what you're doing?
I want the educators who come through our space, who have experiences in our lab, to not be afraid of AI, because we certainly get some teachers who are afraid, but also So understand that this is just not the way things are now, and we just got to get with it and use it and teach people to use it, without some really serious intention and a critical mindset. A question that we often ask when we have a group of new teachers in the space is we give them this little either or question. Are you a centaur or a cyborg? And I'm not sure if you've ever heard of this before, but it's a metaphor from Ethan Mollick. He wrote a book called Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI. And we asked them, are you a centaur or a cyborg? A centaur is someone who believes that there should be clear boundaries separating what is human and what is not, right? And a cyborg, on the other hand, says, I'm ready for this. I want to be as deeply entangled with this new technology as possible. Bring it on. I want to see what it can do for me in this context or in this capacity. And obviously that's a binary. It's not really one or the other. It's a spectrum. But today, as an educator, are you a little bit more old-fashioned as a centaur, or a little bit more avant-garde and forward-thinking as a cyborg? And what's really interesting is almost every single time I ask that question, I get a pretty close to a 50-50 split, which to me shows that we're in it right now. We're digesting this new thing, and we're thinking about it, and we have different opinions, and we gotta collaborate. We gotta work together. We gotta build lines of communication. We gotta innovate, and we have to work together to build the future we want.
Yeah, and think how long it took us to fully adopt the internet. Mm-hmm. It's like 30 years. Like I don't think you can teach now without the internet.
I don't think so either.
It's a great time to be alive.
It's fascinating, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if this podcast ends up just being training data for a future AI overlord, we appreciate being part of your archive.
That's what Alex said. Thank you.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, we're honored to be a part of your historical catalog.